Hey guys, it's Victor, gimmeabreakman. As you probably know, Japan and China have been arguing over a small outcrop of islands known as the Senkaku Islands in Japanese and the Diaoyu Islands in Chinese. And while Beijing claims more than 5 centuries of control, the islands were largely uninhabited and unclaimed until a man named Tatsuhiro Koga, a Kyushu businessman, landed on the islands at the end of the 19th century. Koga built factories on the island but later sold them to the Kurihara family, and they've owned the islands until this year when both the Tokyo metropolitan and Japanese central governments announced plans to buy the islands from the Kurihara family.
Hey guys, it's Victor from the gimmeabreakman channel, dressed up in a suit just for you? No, just by coincidence. Anyway, a lot of people have been asking me what I think about the Senkaku Islands. You know, the Japanese and the Chinese are fighting over these little islands because there might be oil there. Otherwise, nobody really cared because they were sitting there for years. America took it after World War II and gave it back to Japan, but now they're like staying out of it, even though they could probably step in and say, well, actually, we think this. Save everybody a lot of trouble. But now the islands belong to a private family here in Japan. You can check the link, I actually taught it. This family's owned these islands for many years, and now they have decided to sell it to Japan. Now this is actually Ishihara's fault or idea, or depending on where you stand. Ishihara, many of you might know, is like the controversial, he's like a Rush Limbaugh, but he's a politician here in Japan. And he said, why don't we just buy these islands? And he's in control of the local Tokyo government. So he got all these donations, and they said, we're going to buy these islands. A lot of money. That's not really the point. So all these facts, which you should look up yourself, because I'm actually in a hurry. There's nothing. Here's the thing that interested me. After he did that, after he decided the local government was going to buy it, and they were going to build something there, the federal government decided, no, we'll take it over. We're going to buy it. And that's where all hell broke loose. That's when riots broke out all over China. And of course I thought, what animal?
Give me a break, man. Give him a break because he's short.
What barbarians? What low-class people?
So give him a break.
This would never happen in America.
Give me a break, man. Give him a break because he's short.
But after checking Wikipedia, as you now know, this kind of stuff does happen in the Western world. Interestingly enough, or ironically enough, in the Third World, Africa, etc., and English-speaking countries like America, Canada, and most recently, London. But the one thing that piqued my interest was, why doesn't it happen in Japan? We do have lots of demos here, or as they say, demonstrations, but you don't see full-scale rioting. There were things called the rice riots many years ago, but nothing in the last, I don't know, in recent history, nothing has really happened here. Now in China, things are not so peaceful, and they're basically biting the hands that feed them by destroying Japanese companies. I think to the tune of Jasco, one of the stores, they cost $30 million worth in damage for that just one store. And who knows how much income they themselves are losing because they can no longer work at the companies like Toyota that they've destroyed or have forced to close down. Another student who actually has a Japanese friend who lives in China now says that he witnessed Chinese demonstrators discussing the riot before the riot with the policemen. And he also said that none of these riots are being reported all over China. You can see them if you're there, but they're not being reported in China themselves. Some students told me that the Chinese government has paid some of the demonstrators to cause these riots. I guess to back up the Chinese belief. So it's kind of interesting that China is not a democratic country, but these riots will give them a reason to back up their claims that they actually own the islands. They exercise sovereignty over the islands. So that's kind of interesting, I thought. But as you probably know, the Chinese riots got a little bit out of hand. One thing I don't get is why they throw plastic water bottles at the building. I mean, why would you throw a bunch of water bottles? They had like a river of water bottles right in front of the building, which seemed kind of ridiculous to me. One last note is in Shanghai. This is a few days old, so the number may have increased by now, but there were 6 cases of Japanese expats living in Shanghai who had been attacked with ramen, or hot noodles had been thrown in their faces. One of my students travels to Shanghai quite often, and apparently there's a really big expat Japanese population there, 50,000 people. So I'm sure they're used to them, just like you know, Japanese are used to, you know, Westerners, Gaijin like us. But pretty interesting what's happening. One thing that did interest me though, like I said, is why don't the Japanese riot? So I did a little investigation. This is just my uneducated guess. But the median age of Chinese is 32, according to website. And if it's on the internet, it must be true. And the median age of Americans is 36. Again, the average age of Japanese is 46-ish, right? So, of course, people who are this age are much less prone to violence than probably people who are watching this video. So that might explain why the Chinese are more prone to violent riots, and why the Japanese are not. And also why in other countries people tend to riot more. Probably because their average age is younger. Because you know, when you're young, dumb, and full of, you know how that goes. Bunch of kids out there getting into trouble, windows are going to break. Anyway, this is another little J-News with just my 2 thoughts from King of the Morons, Victor. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.